welcome again to another program of Yeshiva Classroom. We're here every week at this time, and I have a lot of things to talk to you about. And I want to start off with the fact that I met a lady, married woman in the Five Towns in Cedarhurst. And as a matter of fact, she has a sign hanging from her side of her home on Rockaway Turnpike, and it says, "Thank you, Hashem." And I went to knocked on the door, and I spoke to her, and she's a Bukharian, and she has a nice large family, and she tells me that there are many Bukharian Jews who are in the Nassau County and Queens County and Brooklyn who are not receiving a Jewish education. And it really hit home, because here I have a picture of these young kids that were led down the pathway to their extermination in the gas chambers. Here they never had a opportunity to have anything, no parents, no schooling, nothing. And here in the Five Towns, where we have so much wealth and prosperity and happiness, why should it be that in the public schools in Nassau County there are, in Cedarhurst, in Woodmere, Lawrence, there are Jews in the public school? We don't have resources to take them out, and I'm going to act like an ombudsman and tell you the resources and the leadership and criticize them, because even if it's negative or positive, I want to let the people know where we're standing. And to start off, I would like to talk about the Yeshiva University and its three institutions in the Five-Town area. And I want to tell you, they did a great job. You know, every 5 years there is a Zionist convention, a Zionist worldwide convention, and depending on the number of votes you get, that determines the amount of money you'll get yearly for your organizations that are in Israel. The organizations that your interest is. And for instance, you know, they have Mizrahi, which in the last election with 2020 earned 27 seats out of a total of 112 that was allotted to the United States. The Reform received 32 seats. And in third place was Chabad, who just recently entered this giveaway program. And they come out with 22, and then the conservatives come out with 18. And there's a lot of 1 and 2 seats allocated. But it will determine the amount of monies that their cohorts in Israel will receive during the next 5 years. The last one was held in 2015, and the reform received $4 million a year. So the Chabad is the first time they entered, and they garnered, as I said before, 22 seats. And in the diaspora, which is the outside of Israel, there are 500 seats allotted, or total 500 seats, and the United States has 112 of them. So the observant did well. But the point is, it's not like, oh, come to the polls and get a ballot and vote. No, people are complacent and know that there is an election. So what happened was people went out, organizations went out, and went to the various communities and buttonholed them to vote for their slate. And I can attest to this fact because in Florida I was privy to see these young volunteers set up a table in Century Village in Florida, and many of the senior citizens' residences, and urging them to vote Mizrahi, which is the Orthodox Yeshiva University slate. And they did well in that they came in second with over 22,000 votes. Chabad, they're organized, so the first year that they're in it, and they got 18 seats. So it's interesting to note that Yeshiva University was organized to the extent that they're raising money for Orthodox institutions and settlements in Israel, which is a noteworthy cause, a sincerely worthwhile cause. But the point I want to bring out is that they are organized. They have Rabbi Chaim in Beth Shalom. They have Rabbi Billet in Young Israel Woodmere, and they have Rabbi Zev Friedman, the Rosh Yeshiva, or Rosh Mesifta of Rambam Yeshiva for boys in high school, and for the girls' school, Shalavit, in Woodmere. So they're set up, the whole organization is set up to reach out to the Jews in public school. They have the wherewithal, and they have the institutions which will handle the young students that are taken in, because they have the schools and they have the synagogues, and there are some other things that are missing, but I for one would definitely join them, or if they agree to go out and reach out, or to join any other organization that wants to reach out and speak to young people about coming into a day school, Jewish atmosphere, to learn basic concept of Torah and Judaism. Not like these people that never had a chance. We have the abilities and wherewithal to reach out and to bring them in, and it's just a matter of a little bit of an effort to form a group to reach out. So it's important, and I want to tell you something else regarding reaching out. You know, there's a big problem in several synagogues in the Five-Town area, and that is there's a lot of talking. I'm not talking about please pass me the siddur, or ask a question, a slight thought that they might have. I'm talking about where they're like a convention. People come to Sabbath services, and here they say, you know, it's a time to talk and see our friends and meet and talk and forget about what's happening in the synagogue and our prayers, and that's not right. And the synagogues are doing a good job in that they do not tell the culprits, the instigators of talk and misbehaving, to leave, but let them stay, because we don't turn anybody away. But the point that they do not go further is that they do not involve the people in a meaningful learning time. Now, you know, everybody is on a different level and where he's holding as far as his background, what his knowledge is, what he appreciates in Torah. So it's hard to get a group together and with the same background and have the rabbi speak. And that's another thing. We can't have the rabbi speaking all the time. The Jewish people are a congregation of priests, right? In 19:6 in Exodus over there, it says after they had been in exile in Egypt for 400 years, they were in exile for 400 years, and they came out, and exactly 400 years on Isaac's birthday. And they came out of exile, and they said God said to them, if you keep the covenant and listen to my words, then you will be a kingdom of priests. And all the people answered, Nasa, we will do. We will learn the teachings of the covenant, which they kept over 400 years. They still remembered in their going out on Pesach time. They still remembered the covenant that Abraham made between the pieces. And they will listen to God teachings. God, the creator of heaven and earth. So that's what happened. The people said, Nasa. And then it says in 19:9, you get a pen and write these down. In Exodus 19:9, it says over there that God descended in a thickness of a cloud and spoke to Moses so that the people will hear and believe forever. And that's what we do. We are believing forever that God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the creator of the heavens and the earth, and he chose a particular people to represent him on this planet. Now, when God created the heaven and the earth, and he created Adam on the 6th day of creation, he judged him on that 6th day of creation after he transgressed by eating of the tree of knowledge. And he was told to leave the Garden of Eden. So he was judged on the first day of Tishrei, actually, it's real like the Rosh Hashanah, because that's when we're judged, on the first day of Tishrei. The world was created on the 25th day of El. Go forward 6 days, and you're in the first of Tishrei, the day that Jews observe the Rosh Hashanah Yom Tov, when we are judged. So that's what happened to Adam. And he transgressed, and he was judged. He had to leave the garden, and God spoke to him, and he spoke to his wife Chava, Eve, and he spoke to his son, to their son Cain, and he spoke many times, "Where is your brother? The blood of your brother cries to me." And Cain said, "Am I my brother's keeper? Am I my brother's keeper?" So there was interaction. Adam was not Jewish. His children were not Jewish. But what happened was, he was given a mantle to be a surrogate and to be a light into the nations. But instead of being a light, he continued to fall down. And the son began worshiping the servants of God. They began worshiping the servants of God, like the moons and the stars and all these things. And they became further and further away from the creator of heaven and earth. And it just kept on rolling. You know, it says over there in the sentence in the Torah, God created the heavens and the earth. Bereshis bara Elokim eis hashamayim eis ha'aretz. The Aleph Tav means that it's not a translatable word, but it introduces the direct object in Hebrew. But it also can be learned things from that word. And it says God created the heavens with the heavens. He created all the matter, building blocks, with the earth, all the building blocks for the earth. And the next passage said, and the earth was sohu vavohu, unformed, sohu and chaotic, sohu vavohu. In other words, all the matter, all the building blocks were laid out on the first day. But when God called, for instance, on the third day, let there be vegetation, or the fourth day, let there be luminaries in the sky, he took this undefined matter and brought it into vegetation, or brought it into luminaries. But it was all created on the first day. It was only brought down. It was only brought down to in the next succeeding days. Now, you know, I'm speaking, and this is what I'm going to get away from. I don't want people to speak if they're not on a level. You know, what was the original thought over here? How do we stop the talking in the synagogue, right? We can't tell them to leave, because every Jew is a valuable asset, and he may wake up sooner or later. In the meantime, he may disturb many of the congregants. But what I suggest is the rabbi of the synagogue, where you have this talking going on, to have an individual meeting on one-on-one with every congregant, to find out where he is holding, and to give him the appropriate material to learn during the week, right? Because that's the most important mitzvah. learning of Torah equals all the mitzvahs put together. The learning of Torah equals and surpasses all the mitzvahs that you could possibly think of. And we're not at that level. Even, I'm talking about the Orthodox, whatever that means. You know, the committed Jews who believe, but because of other circumstances, they don't have the time to put in as much time as they should. And that's why the rabbis, again, I'm an unofficially appointed ombudsman person for the five-town area. Now look, the rabbi's not going to listen to me, and I don't think he's going to find the time to have individual lessons with people. But in lieu of that, I'm going to tell you that you can do it on yourself, by yourself. You don't need a rabbi. Let Art Scrolls be your teacher. Let Art Scrolls be your teacher. And you can buy a Talmud. You can buy a paperback Talmud for $10. I go to Z. Berman. $10 for a paper book volume, a paper book copy of one portion of the Talmud. And it has all kind of footnotes in here. All kind of footnotes which are more important and must be integrated into the English reading. Everything's in English or Aramaic. So that I suggest you get, or if you want, send me a self-addressed envelope to Post Office Box 23, Cedarhurst, New York, and I'll send you a copy of the first page. It has all the footnotes. It gives you more information than a rabbi could possibly think of. The footnotes are important. Why is Talmud important? You know, when I came to yeshiva in 1959, well, you know, I was an older guy already, I'm from Delaware, right? Wilmington, Delaware, the first city in the first state, the first state to ratify the Constitution, and Caesar Rodney took on horseback rode to Philadelphia and the first signature. Now, Caesar Rodney statue in Rodney Square in Wilmington was taken down because it found out that he owned slaves. I don't want to get tangential on that, but the point is, so what happened? I came to yeshiva. I said, listen, I want to learn Torah. I want to go to yeshiva. I didn't know anything really. I still don't know anything. So I went to Chabad. They told me Chabad takes everybody. No, but I was rejected. I went to 770, 1959. Guy came out and said, no, we don't have the facilities for you. So then I went to Yeshiva University, and in those days they didn't have, it wasn't so formal, and they brought me into this rabbi who was conducting a class. They stopped the class, and he interviewed me, and bottom line, I was rejected. But I continued on, and I finally found a school, and I don't know, I think they thought I was a wise guy or something, and they put me in a class where they learned yeshiva, where they learned Talmud, and I didn't know. It's a long story, but I don't want to get into it. But the point is, I thought that all the rabbis that were speaking in the Talmud, seeing that they're so great, they had to come together and be a unified thought. But I didn't realize they each had a different thought that they handed down. Now, where do we get the Talmud from? Look, when the Jews were in the desert 40 years, right? There was a yeshiva. They had manna that was that came down every day. Tasted like a pancake, or it had different taste. And they translated, or they had the 5 books of Moses, which was the Torah, aka Old Testament, aka the Jewish Bible, the only Bible we have. And it was in Hebrew, it was Old Hebrew, and each word was taught so as not only they knew the definition, but they knew the understanding of the word. They knew the understanding of each word because they knew Hebrew, they spoke Hebrew. Right? So they spoke Hebrew. So, but some of the names, like for instance, when birds of prey are prohibited, and they list the name of those birds, and we don't have the information as to what bird they were referring to. They referred to it in Hebrew, and they knew which species they were talking about. So everything was orally transmitted. The first temple, let me see, so what happened? Orally transmitted to Joshua, and then to the book of Shoftim, Judges, and some were learned. Some leaders were very learned, and they quoted tractates from the Torah to Gentile leaders, showing them that this land, the Trans-Jordan, was given to it. It was given to us by God. Well, you can't take it back from God, just like today. Mr. Blinken, he says that we have to have, you see, I can get tangential over here very easily. Mr. Blinken, the Secretary of State in the United States, a very high position. He says, we want a two-party state, where Trump never mentioned anything about a two-party state, and he wasn't even Jewish. Here, Blinken says we want to set up a Palestinian consulate in East Jerusalem. He wants to set up a consulate by Palestine, so eventually it become a two-state, and they continue there. That's our friends, our Democratic Party. That's our friends. And Blinken happens to be Jewish, right? His mother and father were both Jewish, and his stepfather was a writer and he went through a lot of horrors in the concentration camp, and he wants to divide the country up. They just divide, take a knife. When in 1929, England was trustee for the land below Syria, Jordan, Israel, and what they said is, you know what, excuse me, we'll divide the Jordan River. This is Israel, right? We'll divide the Jordan River. Here's the Jordan River. This side is Jewish, and this side is Arab. They make it a two-party state. All right? Well, they didn't say anything. Britain said it's good. They issued a white paper in 1929 that Jews have control of this area. Arabs this area. Oh, they were rioting. They killed. They massacred. And now, you know, the Jewish people, really God, took their rightful land back. In 1948, after 2,000 years of exile, we still kept the commandments and lived by the laws of the Torah. They divided this land into little pieces over here, and the Jews wanted by the sweat and blood, and now they want to divide it again like a piece of salami. They think Israel's a piece of salami. Look, write this down. God gave the land to Abraham and his descendants, Isaac and Jacob. Write this down. In Genesis 15, chapter 15, verse 7, and Genesis chapter 26, verse 3, and Genesis chapter 28, verse 13. You just add a 1 to the 3, 26, 3, 28, 13. So that's how it is. It's our land. I mean, they can have the whole world against us, but it's not going to be a two-party state. Oh, this will stop the anti-Semitism. Oh yeah, anti-Semitism. You think they've spent millions of dollars on stopping anti-Semitism? Right. Every day in the paper is swastikas, Nazi flags, and your brothers and sisters and uncles died in liberating the country from Nazism. And here we have anti-Semitism. The Jews are the cause of the problem. The Jews, what problem? Why? Because they have our own land. We give so much to the world. We give so much to the world. Right. Every day. Ben and Jerry. Well, who's Ben and Jerry? Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield. Right. No, it's two little Jewish boys. They want to rectify to help the poor Arabs who are nothing, and give them a piece of land. They already gave them. They gave them a piece of land over there in Gaza, where they had so much trouble, which is God-given land. And what did they do? In Gaza, they shoot bombs and fly all kinds of missiles into thank you. Yeah, that's what they do. And they gave away God-given land. God-given land is what they do. And here, Miss Rooney of the country of Ireland, the bestseller, she doesn't want her books published in Hebrew. That's a blessing, because the people should be learning Torah and Talmud and get a taste of it, and it may take longer for some people than others. But Miss Rooney says I don't want my work published in Hebrew. We don't like Hebrews. And where was she during the Second World War? Not one Jew was allowed to come into Ireland. Not one Jew was allowed to come into Ireland from the Nazis' persecution. Not one Jew, and they consistently vote against Judaism and the Israeli state. And yet we find that the Jews are the most giving people, and have even the Arabs in their government. Arab party votes to destroy Israel. They're included in the government. And you say, oh, the Jews are segregating the people from the apartheid. Look, here Ben and Jerry, they don't know what they're talking about. The state of Vermont, where Ben and Jerry produced the ice cream, exiled 4 Indian tribes in the 1700s. They just threw them out, pushed them out to Canada. One was the Mohegans, right? And Stonewall Jackson took the Seminole Indians from the Midwest and transported them to the swamplands of Florida. Is anybody crying about that? Why doesn't Blinken make a two-party state out of Mississippi or Alabama, where there are more blacks than whites in those states, or or give back the Seminole Indians to the land from which they came, from the Midwest. No, it's only the Jews. They're the ones that usurped the Arabs, and there are 22 Arab states, and here Jews are trying to step one little step toward a little country that is free from influences of the Gentile society. And you know, Ben and Jerry came out and said, well, we don't discriminate against the country of Israel, but we don't feel it's right that Samaria and Judea, this is the heartland of the Bible, where all the kings rode and conquered and lived and given to by God. It tells you the borders. Look at Numbers chapter 34 verse 1. It delineates the north, south, east, west borders. And the reason we have so much trouble from Gaza, because they gave half of Gaza Strip to the Arabs. Hopefully they will have peace. Look, I don't know who's going to listen to this program, right? I don't think there are that many, but the point is, wherever you are, even Ben and Jerry is being wiped out as far as, you know, Texas, Arizona, New Jersey, they will not fund anything that benefits Ben and Jerry. But Hellman's mayonnaise, I see that. That's a Unilever, right? It's a Unilever country. And yeah, this is another one before I forget. This is what we need to do. Defund the media. Here it is, defund the media. Can you see that? I'm a one-man program. I'm a producer, a cameraman, material. I could use some help, really. So if you want to help, give me a call here. You can call 516-295-4233. And right now, I'm going to raise funds to go on the radio in different cities. You can buy time, and you get promos the whole day. So it's a good deal to spread the word. But here we are. Hellman's mayonnaise, and now it's in all the supermarkets, all the kosher supermarkets. That's a Unilever owner product. All you need. Hellman's, you can't live without Hellman's, the quality that it has. I mean, forget about your brothers and sisters that are giving their lives on the front lines in Israel. But we got to have Hellman's. No, you don't need it. You can get ShopRite, you can get other names, and you can sacrifice it. Hellman's and Ben and Jerry. I think Skippy also. Look on that Skippy peanut butter. And you can call Unilever and express your disgust at what they are doing as far as BDS, boycott, diversify, and S stands for whatever, BDS. We're against BDS, and they are for BDS. So if they're for BDS, we're against BDS. And here are the number of Hellman's, right? Call them up. Call them up and tell them how you feel, how you discuss. Your brothers and sisters are dying in Israel, and you got, come on. Okay, look, see that tangential. This is something that I saw on a fellow was wearing. Defund the media. You know, we don't hear anything about Afghanistan. Sleepy Joe, he is Sleepy Joe. You know, he came from Claymont. He wasn't born in Delaware. We don't want anything to do with a carpetbagger. So the point is, he lived near the border of Marcus Hook, Pennsylvania, which was a refinery town, and it screwed such a stink 24 hours a day. It was impossible to pass through that town, and he probably got too much of that smell that affected him in later years. Defund the media. I think I saw it. It says, okay, kick okay. .com. You can get t-shirts, defund the media. Here, look at the media. They're nothing, Biden didn't do anything wrong. There's so many things you could pick on him. What did he do? He didn't do anything wrong. The economy's going to pot. Gas prices are over $3.30 a gallon, where Trump was $2.80. Down the line, there's just all kinds of things that are going bad. Got out of Afghanistan. You think the news media say anything about Afghanistan and how we lost $85 billion worth of equipment? And you see any pictures of people hanging on to the movable stairway to the planes? No, you're still talking about January the 6th, where the few people broke into the Capitol, and they want to get 20-25 years in prison, while Putin says, for what? Putin of Russia said, you're crying to me because I incarcerated Natavi, the opposition worker, when you want to give 20-25 years to the people who broke into the White House. Yeah, but you'll see that picture on your screen all the time of how you see that picture of this demonstration against how the election was stolen. So speaking about elections, in Arizona, 94,000 mail-in ballots came in over the number that was sent out. 94,000 came in. There's no fraud. We counted. What a crooked deal we got. And you say, well, listen, we're in America. We're safe. You think we're safe in America? Yeah. Oh, we have systems of checks and balances. We have a constitution. Oh, yeah. If God want to take you down, man, he can take you down 1, 2, 3. You got to, what did we do? Oh, my goodness, I don't know. We got Tangential over here and getting the Art Scroll Talmud, the Art Scroll Talmud, and the Art Scroll Paper Book Talmud, $10 is self-taught. You don't need a rabbi. Our rabbis have not brought the learning Torah to the people. No, I'm sorry to say that, but everyone should be having a Seder. Seder means a set time in learning. If you don't, then do it on your own. And to supplement that, get the book, Behold a People. Behold a People, which gives you the 24 books in concise form and teaches you basic thoughts in the Torah. And this is written by Victor Miller, right? Behold the People. Rabbi Cutler, the top man in learning in Yeshiva Gavoa in Lakewood, was a Talmud of the yeshiva in Slobodka, Poland, before World War II. And Rabbi Miller also was a Talmud just before the outbreak of World War II in Slobodka. But he wrote everything down in English. Slobodka didn't originate in Poland. It came throughout the different lands till it reached Slobodka, and then it was wiped out during the Holocaust. So where do we want to go? You know, Trump has got to be blessed. You know, they want to impeach Trump on the basis of a telephone call that this Ukrainian American, born Ukrainian European, it was the translator, and he said that Trump used underhand tactics to stop to advance his goals, and they wanted to impeach the president, the best president the United States has ever had. They wanted to impeach him based on a telephone call. Yet here, in Afghanistan, people are clinging onto the movable stairs, trying to get out of Afghanistan, and forget about the material. But how about the lives, our friends? Here, this is a picture. I couldn't get anything else where they're clinging onto the steps, crowding the airport, trying to get out. Save my life. No, we don't talk about that. Where's Mr. Muir and the 6:30 news? Oh, he didn't do it. He's doing it, but he's talking about the vaccine. Oh, the president is talking about the vaccine, how we're going to help you, and we're going to stop the bottlenecks. And in the southern border, it's open, and over 1 million refugees, undocumented people, cross the border into the proper mainland United States. How many are terrorists at the word of their commander to poison the water or to set up explosives, all kind of things? They don't speak about that. No, nothing's spoken about. Oh, we're going to get the factories are all backed up because we don't have the ships to unload the ships. They need all the parts, and some parts are still on the ship. We can't. The economy's floundering. Right? They can't look. There's no more caravans anymore. Yeah, when Trump was there, there's no caravans from Central America. Trump got on the phone and laid it right to the leaders of those Central American countries. Stop. And they stopped. Who knows how many millions are waiting to get in and charge and subversives. Who talks about that? Where's impeachment? Where the Republicans don't know how to fight. If anything should be impeached, it's a Sleepy Joe. He made so many boo-boos, you could write a whole book on the gaffes that he did. Look, I don't want to, look, there's a pasuk in the Torah. Actually, it's written 2 times. It says in 12:3 in Genesis and 24:9 in Numbers, right? 12:3. Whoever blesses the Jewish people is blessed, and whoever curses the Jewish people is cursed. That's written 2 times. 2 times in the Bible. And a person like Trump, well, he has a daughter that's converted to Judaism, a good conversion, and yeah. So look, what do we talk about? There's a lot to talk about. Look, I want to be taken down and taken off the air, because I'm trying to motivate you to learn Torah. So we have 3 branches of Torah, right? Oh, so we were talking about Talmud, right? Talmud. So the people knew Talmud, right? Because every time they got every time they learned, you know, in the desert, there was one rabbi over 10 and another rabbi over 50 and another rabbi over 100. So they learned, and the translation was in Hebrew. It's Hebrew of the Hebrew. So, but after a while, being that we were exiled due to our transgressions, you whisper something to a person's ear. Every time it gets to the 5th person down the line, it's changed a little bit. So they got the oral Torah, and it became a little bit burdensome, and that there are a few opinions coming down from the main source, and the time was a period of Tanaim, where the Tanatic period, where the rabbis sort of put everything in perspective and order being that they were they were based in Israel. In Israel, the land of Israel, they were close to the source of where the Torah came from. And that's a Tana period, which was during the first temple. But after the first temple, an exile, a new group of people arose, rabbis, who were the Amoraim, who were lesser knowledge and whose physical body was not as strong, and therefore their spiritual knowledge also was weakened, being that they were surrounded by Gentile culture. And so after the exile continued, we got into the Rishonim, which we're at today, where our knowledge is very poor, and we have to rely on the predecessors. And then it was finally written down in 600 Common Era, which you have today, and which I strongly urge you to get. Right? It's the linear translation of the Talmud. Start off with 1a. It says Me'amosai Kara Neshama B'Avin, and this is what you spend your time. This is what you spend your time to learn, right? To learn Torah, and if not, you'll go into exile, right? And that's what happened. Look, here's a picture. I got a friend took this on a computer, and it's not the best picture, but this is Europe, right? And this is all Nazi controlled, and this is where reform started out. Reform. They changed the rules, converted, dressed and looked like Germans, and that's where reform. Judaism made everything topsy-turvy. You know, she likes me not. This I like, this I don't like. You know, throw it out. This is keep. So that's where the angel of death put his mark. In 1941, they were on North Africa. Germany was on North Africa. Nazi Germany. They could have gone right up into Egypt, Libya, the oil fields, right on up to Romania and all the oil fields. And what they do? They left. They left to concentrate their evil on the Germans, on the populace that the Germans carved out. And here, the Jews of North Africa were observant. They listened to the Chacham. They did everything what the Chacham did at that time. And God sent the Germans away from them. And he could have wiped them out. Instead, he wiped out the Ashkenazim, the good and the bad, because the leadership went down under. And how far did he get? He wanted to get to the oil fields of Baku. And as far as he got to the Caucasus Mountains. And the other side of the Caucasus were the Bukharian Jews, who kept everything. Listened to the leaders. They kept everything, kept the mitzvahs, and lived like Jews. They withstood Nazism, they stood communism, and in America they're going to fall down because we did not do right by them and not setting up schools for them. I'm talking about the 5 towns and the leadership of the 5 towns. We say, well, we're busy. We got a busy schedule. What busy schedule? You want to see? Yeah, busy schedule. This is what, I got tons of books of where they made the Jews stand out for 24 hours naked, no clothes, for 24 hours. Here they had pogroms. They had all kind of evil things happening to them. There in Minsk, they had to ride piggyback. Jews had to ride piggyback while the Goyim looked on. This is what we get when we don't. We say, who am I to talk against the rabbi? Look, it says over there, a rabbi. I'm not talking about those the Mickey Mouse people. They had a convention in 1880 in Cincinnati, and they had turtle legs and shrimps on the menu. We don't need the Torah. We can figure out things by ourselves. And some people said, "Oh, that's too radical." So that became the conservative. They're conservative. They pick and choose a little bit on a higher level, not the shrimp. So that's the reform. They just move with the culture, move with the side. Look, these are our children. These are our brothers and sisters who walked down the aisle to the concentration camp, to the gas chambers. Here they are. Take a look. They were with prisoner guard, black and white striped uniforms. Here they go all the way down to the gas chambers where they are slaughtered and burnt into a mountain of ash. Mountains of ash. And that's what happened to us if we don't act. He said, "Oh, who am I? Who am I to talk about the rabbis?" Look, there's a pasuk in Leviticus chapter 29, verse 17. You should rebuke your fellow man, lest you become sin. You should rebuke your fellow man. 29:17. 29:17. I think it's 29:17. Leviticus 29:17. Yeah, you should rebuke your fellow man. The rabbi of the synagogue is my fellow man. And I don't want to talk about this. It's a Marsayan. It's not good to say true matters about things. But it says you should rebuke your fellow man. And then that he should not lead us into a straight path. It says over there in chapter 23, Exodus. Is it 23? Exodus. Do not accept a false report. Do not extend your hand to an evil person. And listen to the person who goes against the majority. 23, right? So it says you get to love to learn the Torah. Here in Bereshit it talks about Bilam was the one that rode the donkey, and they hired him to curse the Jewish people. So how does he get to know to curse the Jewish people? Where does he get that acumen, that wisdom and knowledge? Because he knows exactly when God's anger appears, and that's like 584,000th part of a second, and he knows that time, and that's when he will curse the Jews, and God will follow his curse. I read it and look, the Gemara, it's all different types of things that are brought down. Look at the footnotes. It's all good stuff. Please do it for your own self. You have a report card that says, Moshe said, if you don't forgive the Jewish people, erase me from your ledger. Erase me from your book. I don't want to be in the book. Kill me. That was a test for Moses, right? Yeah. So here are the two books, right? Barachos. You get the Talmud, right? And write me, Post Office Box 23, Cedarhurst. It's self-addressed envelope. I'll send you a copy of, if you want the Talmud copy, and get the book Behold the People on Amazon, right? And a linear copy of Barachos, the first part of the Talmud. So, if you want to help me out and try to go over some things, may I must say, from when to when, or the parameters for saying the Shema Yisrael prayer in the evening. Truma. Now you want to have the Tanakh? What happened in Tanakh over there? Rav Shaka, he was an apostate. He came to Hiskiyahu and in the book of Samuel. He came to Hiskiyahu and he said, surrender. No, two parties stay. We're gonna take you away. We'll give you the better land over here. You'll have peace and you'll be happy. That's what he said, Rav Shaka. So the king Hiskiyahu said, don't speak to us in Hebrew because you'll lower the morale of the people, right? And so what happened? Sure enough, Isaiah the prophets basically ruled together with the kings, right? Together with the kings to show them the direct path to follow. Look, my people over there, you got to work. No one's going to help you. You're going to help yourself. You got to develop a taste for it, just like broccoli. Some people get it, they love it naturally. Other people, they got to work, not build. The natives are restless. We have to build our people. No gymnasiums, and get the job done. And join me, and we'll work together. If you don't have the proper leadership, remember the main thing is defund the media. With that, I'm going to end because I think I'm over the time limit. Thank you, and God bless.